Hello, it's Tricia Velthuizen from Churchill Education. I popped in last week and gave you a little bit of a heads up that we were writing a piece about how to set your life goals, what your success looks like for your life. And today I'm here just to introduce, we've actually put it all together, part one, because let's face it, it's the sort of topic that needs to be broken down into a few pieces. But for this week, we're going to start with how did we end up even writing these success goals for our life and how did we tackle it? So this is the first part of that conversation. So last year I went to a conference, thousands of people, if you can imagine it, in a convention centre, and we all get asked one question that seemed to make the room really stop and little eyes go quite wide. And the question was this: what does it take for you to feel successful? I'm wondering if my head was spinning as much as yours might be right now, or if you were like Randall. You see, I immediately went into overthinking mode. So I picked up the phone and I called Randall and I asked him this question: sweetheart, how do you know if you're successful? And his answer was immediate and really direct. And it was simply this: what do you mean? I am successful. And I just had to laugh. I was like, you don't want time to think about that one? He's like, no, I don't need it. And I said, well, tell me what it takes for you to feel successful. And he said to me, it's really, really simple. I wake up in the morning and you're there beside me. The kids, well, they're asleep in their beds. We live in a house that we really enjoy, a home that we've made, and I get to do work that I love each day. Said, I don't really know what else it would take to feel successful. That is success for me. And I thought to myself, you know, that's a real reflection on how we have tackled success in the nearly 20 years that we had been together at that point. But sometimes we can overthink success, and we've always written these success goals, this measure, but we've always been guided, had this grounding in the 4 key things that were really important to us. You see, when Randall first was diagnosed with PTSD, we had that moment where our whole lives tipped upside down. It's probably some of the toughest stuff that we've had to deal with, and if I'm honest, and I really want to be honest with you about it, it really took our marriage to the brink, the very edge. But when he got diagnosed with PTSD, he really lost his identity. He lost his sense of who he was. And up until that point, both Randall and I had always had really clear ideas of what we wanted in life. I'd wanted to be a lawyer ever since I was 9 years old. Randall had wanted to be a copper ever since he was 9 years old. We'd both set about doing it. We'd both got these promotions. When we married, we knew we wanted at least 2 children. In fact, we're those couples that named them on our honeymoon before they were even coming. We knew that we wanted a house in the burbs, just a simple house that we really enjoyed. We wanted to send our kids to a little Catholic school. Not that we're Catholic, it just seemed like a really good idea. And we wanted to have a Sunshine Coast holiday, once a year for a couple of weeks. And we were pretty much on track with all of that. In losing Randall's identity as a copper, everything got thrown in the air, and we had to really work out what it was that we wanted to underpin our lives. So we came up with what are kind of our golden rules, the measures that we agreed one night at home when I found Randall circling a job ad to be an armour guard. And he told me that's all he thought he was worth. It was a pretty hard night, that one. But at the time, we set an agreement. The first priority was that Randall was going to be happy and healthy. In fact, our whole family, we just wanted to be happy and healthy. Our second rule was that we could go after and achieve anything, so long as we weren't just settling, so long as we weren't just choosing it because we thought that was all we were worth. The third thing we decided as a rule for our lives of what success looked like was that we wanted to give freely. We wanted to recognise that whatever we had, we'd want to share with generosity back into the community, because we had some awesome support around us and we wanted to do that same. And the 4th measure of success in our lives was that we wanted to speak openly and freely about mental illness, because we thought that that was really vital to help people who were in our situation to feel like they weren't alone and that there was hope. So we set these 4 golden rules for ourselves of what success could be built on. And from there, we started to frame up these 4 areas that we looked at our life and broke down life into these 4 components. And I wanted to quickly show you what they were. So hopefully you can follow my handwriting. Excuse the truck behind me. Oh goodness, everyone's coming out. So one of the first areas that we really wanted to look at was family. It was just a priority for Randall and I, and it always was. The second part was finance. And when you look at it in perspective that we had just given up what Randall thought was going to be his lifelong career and had a young family, it makes sense that we really put a priority on figuring out what are our goals for success in terms of finance. From there, you know, when you've had a bit of a rough run, we wanted to have some fun. We wanted to not be serious all the time and not be dealing with hard stuff. We wanted to work out what are the things that make us happy and that give memories. And so we put together this category that was fun. And then we wanted to be able to look to the future. So these were the 4 areas that we kind of came up with and went, okay, let's set some success goals under these kind of perspectives of looking at our family, figuring out our finances, working out how to have fun and enjoy life together, and looking at the future. What would be some big goals for the future? And at that point, we were in our kind of early to mid 30s, and you know, the future seemed a very, very long way off, whereas now we're in our late 40s, early 50s. And suddenly the future seems like it's coming up very fast. So when it came to setting goals for our family, we both were really inspired by families that we had seen growing up, by aspects of our own families that we thought we'd really like to replicate, or you know, things that we didn't want to replicate, that we wanted to do differently, as all of us come up with. And we've got 4 kids. So we started talking about, you know, family needs to include Randall and I, because if Randall and I aren't traveling along really well, that's going to obviously impact our family too. And so we started to put together these ideas. And one of the things we did was involve our kids in these conversations. In fact, we first involved our kids when Declan was 6, our eldest, and he's now 17, turning 18 in the middle of the year. And Ellie, and she was 3, and the twins were just newborns, so we didn't really give them much part of the conversations. But we started to ask them what were their ideas, what were their dreams, and that's how we started to write our goals for our family. As you take the time to look at our goals, because I've shared a number of them really openly under that, you know, what are the goals for the family, what are the goals for the future, what are the goals for fun, what are our financial goals, you'll see that some of them are pretty simple. Some of them are about me being around to pick the kids up from school at 2:30, 3 o'clock every day. Others have felt gutsy, and they've taken a big part of dreaming and a big part of planning and financial management. You know, for one thing that Randall and I set as a goal 8 years ago in 2012, and we've done it every day since, is to plan for early retirement. And I'm not talking about early retirement like he wants to be, 65 instead of 67. We decided we wanted to retire a little bit every year, and we've done it since 2012. You see, people that Randall had worked with for a long time knew they had a knack of dying early, and we, looked around and we realised that no one is guaranteed tomorrow. So what if instead of waiting till we were 65, 67 to do the things that we put on that bucket list, the place that I think dreams go to die, what if we started doing a little bit of early retirement every year? What if we started traveling now and included our kids? What if that was a really big goal? And we've done that. We've taken the kids to all sorts of places, always the places that we've really wanted to go, because let's face it, it's our early retirement. They're along for the ride, but it's the planning and dreaming that Randall and I want. And the reality is we probably won't pay off our mortgage earlier. We're going to, take us another 10 years to get that one paid off. We'll hit that 30-year mark. But we're happy with that because, we're tackling that. But in the meantime, we're fulfilling these goals for a family that's connected, and shares experiences. We're fulfilling these goals for Randall and I to travel and see parts of the world while we're happy and healthy and able to do that really well. We're teaching our kids the world's so much bigger than what it can appear when you live in a little pocket of Samford, where you live and work and go to school within the 10-kilometre radius. You know, it's a gutsy goal, but it's one that we have never regretted. And we continue to focus and work hard and figure out, you know, do we really need tuck shop this week, kids? Because that can go on the early retirement list of funds. So that's been something we've done that's been a really brave goal that's kind of straddled all 4 of our focus areas. And you'll read about some other goals that we've included under our categories there in the little piece we put together. But once we'd written those 4, you know, the quadrant out, and really done some thinking about, well, what are the sorts of things that fill us up and excite us? And, you know, they could be quite different. Randall might have a personal goal. He does. He wants to do this 50-kilometre ultra trail in the Blue Mountains in May. And after that, he's kind of got this little spark in his eye about the idea of 100 kilometres. Frankly, I don't know which category that falls under, because it doesn't fall under fun for me, but it seems to for him. But we worked out that there were a few key things that you couldn't even begin to think about your goals if these things weren't in order. And one was your health. And so we worked out, you know, what do we need to do with our health? What's the goal? And it took us a while to figure that out, because we really focused on Randall's mental health. And it's only been the last 2 years that we've really factored in our more of our other aspects of physical health. And if you followed our journey, you would have seen that both of us have lost nearly 60 kilos and have got quite fit compared to what we were, which was very unfit. So that, you know, exercise has become part of our life. The other part makes it really hard to think about goals is if you don't have a home that's stable, if your home isn't the sort of place that makes you feel content, then that's not going to work in your favour for writing goals. So it's a really core component. And then the other one was you're hired. Where are you hired? What does your job do for you? What's your career doing? Because, you know, work can be something that adds to our lives, but it can also be something that detracts from our lives. And, you know, we went through that in transitioning, and we've seen lots of that in Churchill, of people reaching this point that work needs to work for them. And so that component of, you know, your health, your home, and your hired really are a fundamental thing for us in working out, okay, if we can tackle those, then we can start to tackle our goals. So we've pulled it apart, and I've given you a lot more thoughts to think about and ideas to think about and examples of our goals and how we came up with some of them, you know, watching other families and being inspired, seeing ideas, interviews on TV and going, actually, I'd love to do that. But the next stage that we'll share with you in the next couple of weeks is how we took the goals, the success goals, and we turn them into a plan. Because a goal that's floating out there without a plan, well, that's just a really nice idea we all had one day. And you know what's much more fun is actually living those ideas, living those goals. So we'll pull that apart for you. But in the meantime, please read, share with me if you've got any goals that you're defining as how you work out your success, things that you've achieved that really fill you with great pride. And we'll be talking to you soon. Take care.